Patient for the vote. When the vote comes up, it takes a second for it to come through. Did you not know this? I knew we didn't have any patients, but we're going to work on your patients.
There's the most patient person there.
Brennan? At workshops, we call each other first name. In meetings, we
okay.
have second names.
Okay.
So
That's how we
we
do it?
switch.
Okay.
So I'll be calling her Mrs. Rollins.
Okay.
Instead of,
Okay.
just so you know that that's what it is. That's the difference.
Switch like that.
Good afternoon. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to the school board meeting this Tuesday, August 18th. Please stand for the pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Every time we do that, I want to say, play ball.
Well, given in another week, we'll be able to.
Maybe. The superintendent's report. Do you have a report to give, Dr. Aspin?
Yes, ma'am. On. There we go. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon again, board members. I do have a couple of items here. First of all, in case there were folks on now that weren't on during the board work session, I just want to say thank you once again. Thank you to the board members. Thank you to our district staff and our school staff, the community, everyone from around the entire community, parents, employees, for the warm welcome that you have given to me and my family. I really do appreciate it. It's been very, very nice, and you have been very, very hospitable and generous to me and my family, and I really, really appreciate it. And I'm just very happy that I finally have started, and I'm 1 week in, and I can't wait to continue to work with you and serve our students here in Sarasota County. So again, thank you so much to everyone.
You're nice. You're nice. That's why it's very easy for us to be nice to you and welcoming you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Because you are.
Thank you. I also wanted to, once again, thanking Mitzi Corcoran. I do want to just thank her for this time of transition while she has helped me to move in. So thank you very much. It's been very helpful. We did have a Leadership Institute last Wednesday, and it was very exciting. And we were at Brookside Middle School, and our leaders were there, our district leaders and our principals, assistant principals, and other leaders were there. And it was fantastic. We were there, and we had around 30 people in the room with our masks and our video, and there were probably 150 people who were watching from their computers. So we did sort of a hybrid situation. It worked out really, really well. I want to thank Dr. Kingsley and the PD, the Professional Development Department, for organizing that. It was excellent. Also, Dr. Dawn Clayton and Carol Brown did a fantastic job with that particular professional development. I also wanted to thank Joe Binswagner and Jamal Geidler. So thank you for your efforts with the technology especially, and having that work out for us. It went really well, and I'm sure as we move forward into this year, our principals, like I said, they're ready to go, and hopefully there was an inspiration that we gleaned from that during the day. Also, Sunday night, there was a town hall meeting by the NAACP and Trevor Harvey. I met him last week, and I was invited to be a part of that town hall meeting, and I just want to say I appreciate that. There's a lot of very good information that came from that about our reopening of schools across our district and Manatee County. So I thought that was a very good town hall meeting. We also, this week, we started talking about training. We had some training yesterday, and we continue on today with our safety training for all of our employees, and our instructional delivery training this week and next week as we go into pre-plan. I also want to say that our teams have done an excellent job of organizing. It's amazing the amount of information that we are sending out over these next 2 weeks in our training sessions, and the amount of time it must have taken to organize these, it's amazing, and our folks truly are incredible. So thank you to all of them for all that you've done for this training effort over the next 2 weeks. Also, I wanted to congratulate Riverview High School and the IB student performance. I think you all saw that as well, but I do want to just bring that up. The Riverview IB Diploma and Career Program, they had 1,369 assessments that the students took, and 93% of the Riverview International Baccalaureate Diploma students received the full IB diploma, which was pretty amazing. And then 95% of the Riverview Career Program students received the full career program certification. And then also, in addition to that, 236 Riverview seniors took the highest level of IB English available in 2020, and 100% of those students passed this rigorous course. These numbers are amazing, and I just want to congratulate the students and the teachers and the administration there at Riverview for an awesome job. Also wanted to congratulate Carol Lavallee. I hope I said that correctly. She's a teacher at Pineview. I want to congratulate her for being selected as one of 98 teachers in the county selected for the National History Day Summer PD. And I'm sure her students and colleagues will benefit from her experience, but I wanted to congratulate her for being named that. And then also, I just want to say I thought we had a really good workshop today in talking about our reopening plan, and then also hopefully coming to some conclusions on our mask policy. Once again, I want to reiterate to everyone, including the community and employees, as we move forward, in opening our schools, there's going to be some issues, but we need to work together and work through this, and I know we will as we implement our plans. And so I feel very good about it, and I can't wait for us to get started and work through this school year and really benefit our students with meaningful and rich education. So with that, that's the superintendent's report, and I thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is hearing of citizens. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. When the timer flashes yellow, 1 minute remains, and you need to begin summarizing. You must also stop speaking at the sound of the buzzer. Please note respect for divergent viewpoints and civility at every board meeting. Whether you agree or disagree with a speaker, you should listen politely and respectfully without making any sounds of approval. My first card is Elizabeth Cuevas-Nunda.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's been a very long time. I haven't been before you. I had been in Sarasota County for almost 30 years. I was actually helped to elect many of you up there, and I am quite disappointed in many things that they're happening right now in our schools. Now that we start moving forward to have the students, I hope that all these issues with bad discipline that my taxpayer is paying for, you take really good care of it and protect not just the schools, but the students. And another thing I'm going to recommend to you, as you very well remember, for 7 years, I took 128 girls with 2-point GPA and below from many of our schools, and all of them graduated, most of them with 3 and 4.0. Today, they are amazing women, no money whatsoever, all done in my house with their parents. And I'm going to challenge you right now to do the right things for the students. And that is to start moving forward to have classes for parents who have disrupted students and the students as a whole, okay? And teach them where the tax dollars are coming from, how their children are educated, because education is not free. And you're spending too much money on children that they continue failing and failing and failing, and that is a money-making machine for the county. I regret to come before you at this present time the way it is, but I'm going to be honest, I am very disappointed with some of you, because maybe Maybe I'm not here presently, but I am spiritually. And today I'm going to say a special prayer for all of you. Heavenly Father, creator of heaven and earth, I ask you to listen to my prayer and open the gates of heaven, because this school board really has to be concerned about our students and our teachers at this present time. I regret very much to be here. You know that my love for whatever goes on with our children, our senior, is so important. But most of all, I ask you all to do what is right and stop the nonsense of the liberal agenda and start stopping our taking our children for as the future of neglect of our own county. I see a lot of horrible things happening in my county, and I don't want to see anything happen again. En español le voy a decir muchísimas gracias por este tiempo que me están dando, pero en realidad yo ayudé a muchos de ustedes a que fueran elegidos, y hoy en día las decisiones que han hecho en contra de nuestros estudiantes, en contra de mi dinero que he estado pagando, ustedes tienen que ser más responsables. En el nombre de Jesús, amén y muchas gracias.
Thank you. David Graham.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's very nice to see everyone again. And personally, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for all of the hard work that every single one of you has done in this challenging time. I've received hundreds of messages and phone calls over the last few months, and I can only imagine the amount that you have had to deal with over this last few months. As your data analyst in the analytics group, I did want to come back and revisit one number that you were talking about during the workshop early. When we're talking about pediatric numbers, it's very important that we stratify the statistics correctly. And what I mean by that is I was looking at the current state of Florida results from today. One of the things that's important to realize is they're including ages 0 to 1 and 1 to 4 in their numbers. The newborn numbers are hardly anything because they're either home or they've just come home. The 1 to 4-year-olds, again, have almost no positivity because they're home and they haven't been exposed. As soon as we get to the 5 to 10-year-olds, our pre-K up, it's 27% positivity. 11 to 13 is 18% positivity. And I'm sorry to report, from 14 to 17, it is 36% positive. The reason you're hearing these lower numbers, and this is why math and statistics that I learned at Riverview High School are so important, is that we have to make sure that when we're looking at the stratification for the statistics, we're looking at the right number and not the combined number. So I'm looking at 27, 18% in middle, and I'm looking at 36% in high school. So those are some significant numbers which are being significantly skewed by the very young children. So I wanted to report this to you today. As an employee, I know the wonderful efforts that Mr. Dumas's team and everybody in the organization is doing to work hard for the health and safety of our teachers, our employees, and our students. But I wanted to make sure that I communicated these numbers that are statistically accurate as of today. Thank you guys so much, and I appreciate it, and thank you for the time.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Are there any changes or additions to the consent agenda, Dr. Blennon? Dr. Ashwood?
Item number 8, 2 addendums for the instructional classified personnel report were added to the agenda after publication.
Thank you.
I move for approval of the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
All those in favor? Oh, we're going to try voting. mean, we have this wonderful equipment, we should use it. It hasn't come up here.
You voted?
No, mine hasn't come up to ask me for it.
Mine hasn't.
Nope. See where I am? Where should I be? Click on that. This one? No, see, it's not here. All right, let's do a voice vote, since it's not coming up. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? And it passes 5-0. We are now under new business.
I move that, item 35, I move that the school board approve the advertisement of policy 7.771 capital assets as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes 5-0.
Item 36, I move that the school board approve the amendments to emergency policy 2020-2 as presented, the face covering policy.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Hardy?
Just so that the board and the public are clear, there was a discussion about this, rather extensive, at the workshop. The policy amendments that were published now also include, Ms. Tompkins was able to do this in the interim between the workshop and the board meeting, one additional sentence in paragraph 3 that reads, gaiters, buffs, or bandanas may not be worn as an alternative to face masks. So that is part of the amendments that you are voting on in this motion.
Okay. Bridget?
Thank you. Just for anyone who wasn't watching our workshop, this is going to be somewhat repetitive, but this is a topic of high interest. And as I said before, and to Dr. Brennan's point, this has been, Dr. Asplin, we keep doing that. This has been challenging because you will read, subject matter expert white papers, what have you, and then you'll read another well-sourced documentation, and sometimes, particularly as it pertains to masks, there will be contradicting information. However, as you narrow in, my personal opinion is there's no question that proper use of face masks, proper use, are in fact a high mitigation tool for the transmission of COVID-19. However, I do have concerns, particularly as it moves to the K through 2. As I said before, I recognize the concern staff, some members of staff had with the face shields, and certainly the safety and security of our staff is of the utmost importance. However, I believed that face shield would provide a level of mitigation that actually may have been more beneficial than a improper use of a face mask for particularly elementary students. I know that was met with a lot of pushback, but again, as I've spoken with subject matter experts, and I know Dr. DeGordillo from Sarasota Medical Memorial Hospital was with us earlier today. We didn't have the opportunity to talk with him, but it is something that I have seen, that understanding, again, when the K through 2, it being a really challenging time for the duration of time for wear face masks, but also it's such a critical time for their development, and not being able to not just be able to see their teacher and their instructor, but also their peer-to-peer. I don't take it lightly, but I believed that there could be a better way, perhaps through social distancing, because I am tremendously concerned about the environment in which they would be learning, the probability for them to successfully and safely be wearing masks for an entire school day. I know I have spoken with Dr. Asplin about this because I do recognize this is a challenging discussion. I appreciate the conversations you've had with members of the community and also with us, but I won't be supporting it truly because I believe that I would have liked to see some accommodations in a deeper way through K through 2. So thank you for that.
Mrs. Brown?
Although I share some of Ms. Ziegler's concern, about, especially for K-12, K-2, because I know so many teachers in that area, and it is important. Even reading a story, the teachers need to be showing their emotions. But I do believe that there's some leeway in the instructional delivery that they can do that with, and then if we have something from a doctor, the students could wear a face shield, but we would like them to wear the face mask only because we see that is what is stopping some of the transmission. I do believe when people talk about it getting wet, they do get wet, they do get moist throughout the day. Wearing one all day does get uncomfortable. What I would suggest that you do is take at least one more and put in their backpack, put it in a baggie for them so that they can change it, say, at lunchtime. I think that would be very helpful for the students, not only the elementary, but even the older students. That would be very helpful. A big concern of mine, though, is when you have a student who gets a doctor's notice, that doctor's note brings it to school that says this student cannot wear a mask and this student cannot use a shield. I would hope that only doctors would do that if there's a medical reason, but I know that there are people out there who still have political reasons for not wearing a mask. And then it becomes a question of, well, what about the rest of the class? What about their rights? What about their health? And maybe I should let you answer this, Mr. Asplin. What about the teachers in the class and the other students in the class? What's their protection?
And so you're talking about when a student is not wearing a mask or a shield due to a doctor's note,
right?
Correct? Yes. I think that is something that we have talked with somewhat in our academic area as far as how we can mitigate that situation. And it could mean, given the circumstances that we're in, the student may have to be a little bit farther than the other students in the classroom in a certain area. Maybe we have a couple of desk shields in front of them or around them to help mitigate some of that. Certain things that the teacher maybe can do to kind of help, I don't want to say separate, we don't want to say that, but make sure that we properly distance that student and mitigate that situation as much as possible. So the teacher will be able to do that in the classroom and could probably do that best given the fact that the teacher knows what their classroom looks like and the environment it looks like and the number of kids they have in their class. And so I think the teacher will be able to do that, but it's going to be all about mitigating that situation, especially if they have a note from a doctor.
And the other issue that I received a lot of concern about was the gaiter, the neck gaiter, and as I showed you, I'll do this quickly, have a water bottle and a spray bottle, and if you spray this, well, you can see that the water goes straight through. The water goes through, the particles go through. This goes for any mask that you've got. Check it out with the spray bottle. See how good it is. They're all better than that.
Mrs. Goodwin?
Well, I will just reiterate that I support this, and here's partially why. Between July the 9th and August the 9th in the state of Florida, our pediatric cases increased 137%. Hospitalizations for children increased 105%. And that was a 16,797 to 39,735 number of cases. Hospitalizations 213 to 436. And we had 3 more deaths. We've had a total of 7 deaths, which is 7 deaths too many. I know that children in the young ages find it difficult. And I am seeing more and more young children and many recommendations today by the Washington Institute, by the CDC, say that any child 2 years and older should be wearing a mask. I hear that just in the last week. But we have a lot of situations where they carry a great deal of viral load in their nasal passages. They are oftentimes asymptomatic, and many of them, thank God, do not get as sick. But we can't have that asymptomatic transmission of the virus to other children and to our teachers and staff. So I think we start with this good policy, which makes it easier on our teachers. They ask us to make it easy and not give them a lot of options. If there are those children that can't, if there are those extenuating circumstances, we can have the teacher work around those. So for that reason, knowing that we are in a very bad situation with this virus, I support this motion, this policy.
Thank you. I will also be supporting this policy. I know that unless we mask up as a community, we are never going to get rid of this virus. And if we open schools with no face shields and no face masks, we're in a lot of trouble. We'll be closing schools next week, if not the end of, right? No, they come in the 31st. So that next Friday, we would be closing school if we did not mandate face coverings. So I'm totally in favor of this. So I have no other cards here. Nobody's on my queue. So all those in favor of approving policy numbers for advertisement, policy number 7.771.
Excuse me, Madam
Capital
Chair.
assets.
You've approved that one. You're now on to approving the amendments to Emergency Policy 2020-2.
Okay. May I have a motion on that?
The motion's on the floor.
Okay.
So I
Under
think this-
discussion? I have no discussion.
Right, I
Just
think
did
discussion is concluded. So you're now ready to vote on the motion, which is to approve the amendments to Emergency Policy 2020-2.
Okay. So, all those in favor? I got it.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Opposed?
Nay, no. Never knows.
So
I'm
the
sorry.
board, it's the policy pass.
I didn't hear the nays.
I did too.
Okay. Oh.
So the motion passes 3-2. Thank you. Are we now having a conversation about face coverings? No. We did.
Comments.
All right, the next I need to ask you all something while we're here. Do you want to continue having our meetings at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or do you want to revert back to having one at 6:30 at night for those parents that are working? Eric? Mr. Robinson.
Yeah, are you asking, I have a request to speak on because I wanted to comment on something. Are you asking me to answer your question?
No, I'm asking you, because you're on my queue.
Okay.
There's three of you there now.
All right, so I was on the queue because we had one of your staff members come up, open to the public. I assume staff members can come up to open to the public. And the staff member said that the high school rates were at 36%. And yet when we had a discussion earlier today, we were not given those rates. So my question, I don't know if this question is for Dr. Kingsley or Steve Canties. Did you guys know of those rates and not tell us that this morning, or did you not know of these rates? I mean, because that's a rate that's outside of any of the rates that we discussed this morning. We were talking about 5%, 8%, 10%. And so to hear one of your staff members come up and say 36% in a board meeting is a little disconcerting, because it's very outside the norm of what we discussed this morning.
One thing I can assure you of, Mr. Robinson, is I will always be transparent, and the staff will always be transparent. And so if we had known, we would have told you, but we will certainly talk to our teacher and find out where the numbers came from and look into those numbers and talk to the Department of Health with those numbers as well to make sure that we understand exactly.
So
what the situation. We did not have that information today.
Okay, so that information has not bubbled its way up to you?
No.
I don't know if Steve Canties or Dr. Kings, because these are huge numbers of people hearing that all high school kids, I mean, that could really impact how many people come to our school. So, we need to know, this is the last meeting we're going to have before the board meeting, before school opening. So if it's true, then we need to know that. And if it's not true, then that needs to be dispelled.
Well,
This is a
heard
huge
it-
number.
I heard it right when you heard it, Mr. Robinson. So I agree. We'll look into it. But if we had known about that, or if we had previous information about that, I assure you we would have.
Because this wasn't a member of general public, this is a member of your staff, Dr. Asplin.
Right.
Is there any way we could hear from Mr. Cantis or Dr. Kingsley? To see if they have any validity to those numbers?
For our high schools, are you asking?
That's what he said. We had a staff member come up and
Steve, do you want
say,
to speak to that?
It's David.
I know who it was. But I'm trying to understand, because that's a very germane number. If that's a fact, then Dr. Kingsley, I would want to know.
I just want to reiterate what Dr. Asplin.
Use the mic.
It's not on.
It's on.
Oh.
You can sit at the table.
This was in public comment. This was not part of our workshop. And so, like Dr. Asplin said, we'll look into it. And this isn't something that we endorse. This was during public comment.
But if it was, would you have known? Dr. Kingsley? I mean, if it was 36%, don't you think you would have known?
I think, if I can answer that, I think,
This is a pretty alarming number.
Wait a minute.
Mr. Robinson, if it was something that was well-known, we would have known. This information coming forward today, just like any other information coming forward that we did not know about, just like you hearing it for the first time, we have to verify it. We have to look into it, and if we can verify it, then we will come back to you and talk to you about it. In the meantime, this is the first time that we've heard any of this information.
But this is from your staff member. I just
Yes,
want to reiterate that.
Yes. Thank
So
you.
that's a little bit different.
Yes. I do appreciate the information, and we'll certainly look into it.
Mrs. Brown?
As far as that goes, I think that number was for the state, and the numbers that the health department was giving us was for Sarasota County. And I think when they talked about when we're going to have the closures, we're not even going to be looking at the county. We're going to be looking at each school individually, so that we're not including the numbers from a nursing home or jail numbers. We're going to be looking at the numbers from the school, if I could clarify that. But what I wanted, in the comment section, I wanted to say that in addition to the masks, we are looking at the air quality for our schools. And as we discussed at the board meeting, at the workshop this morning, we're bringing in 20% of outside air, and the air circulation is going through 5 times an hour, which is one of the things that, the studies that we've seen, the Harvard study and the CDC and the Pediatrics Association all said we need that air circulation. And we are looking at other ways to even make that even better, perhaps with in-room one. Some of the teachers are, and we're going to be looking at some of those. We heard the protocols this morning on what to do, earlier this afternoon, on what to do if somebody tests positive. There are things out there on our website, SarasotaCountySchools.net, back to school. There are some new videos up there about how we're going to handle that. I think another issue that we are going to be working on, and the state has, and our local health department is working on that. We just got a contract with a Tampa lab. They're supposed to be turning those tests around in 48 hours. What we need to look at now is how we can make sure that we can get all of our students and staff tested timely, so that we can get it to the health department, so they can get it to Tampa and get it back to us. And I think, another thing is, we're all pulling together. We've survived other problems. There was 9/11, there was Hurricane Irma. We're pulling up our bootstraps. I think our teachers are getting the training they need now. We've got 400 substitutes coming in next week looking at it. We're still tumbling the numbers at our schools and seeing where we have more teachers or less teachers than we need. And we're trying to take care of some of those other issues. We're working at it. We're trying to assist, and I think the staff is getting the information they need. And if you aren't registered with the school, contact the school. If you need to make any changes, make them ASAP, either if you're a teacher, staff, or parent. Let the schools know. They're putting that all together. But if you have questions, Not that I don't mind your emails, but take them to your staff, take them to your administration right now. That's where they need to go. Or go to the website, look at those videos, look at the pamphlets that we've made. We've made a lot of progress this past week. As Mr. Robinson says, we still have some questions out there. So we're working on it. We're trying to pull it together, and take a breath, and let's hope for the best when we come back to school on the 31st. And parents and drivers and the public need to know traffic is going to be horrendous that day around schools and around buses. Please take your time.
Anything else? Mrs. Goodwin. Okay. That is a laundry list. Thank you, Shirley. I just wanted to say that, we should have pediatric cases under 5. I see from the health department summary every Friday that it's 10. It was 9 in the end of July, then it went up to 10.2. It's 10.1, went up to 10.1. Last Friday, it was 10.2. I encourage you all to look on the site every Friday, and you can get those numbers. I'm concerned about it. I'm concerned with us going back to school that we will have a great spread in our community. But we are going back to school because we are, and because we know from Hillsborough County and from Monroe County and how they attempted to do other things that it didn't meet with the Department of Ed and the governor very well. So I'll leave that at that. Today is the 100th anniversary of a women's right to vote. I am very excited about women's rights, and we were planning a whole lot of things this past year. I had some people in the community who had been around with several women's organizations now and other things, and they were planning to help us celebrate and to, go over historically some of the landmarks of things that had happened. But it didn't happen this year, did it? I mean, a lot of things have changed. But I did want to mention that today is actually that day, and how far we have come. We have come a very, very long distance. I, being an older woman, can remember starting out in business in the 70s and how I was treated, and it wasn't always very kindly. I wasn't always taken seriously. But I would say that things have changed, and changed for the better, and, as we move forward, perhaps those things that we talk about when we talk about equity will be more and more important to us. What color your skin is, what your gender is, what your sexual persuasion is, all these things are so important. We all need, to be loved and nurtured and cared for and treated with great kindness and respect. So I just wanted to mention that today because it is a significant day. Usually this time of year we're having a big luncheon, and we have all kinds of things going on. So it's one of those strange years that we'll never forget, but I just wanted to mention that before we leave. So thank you all.
Mrs. Ziegler?
I'll be brief because I know everyone's ready to go, but I just want to thank Dr. Asplin for, I think you have made your communication from the get-go has been very, very positive and very welcomed. I think that in this time, there is so much, as I said, even with the masks, it feels like you read some information here and you read some information here. It makes it very difficult to navigate and make decisions. But I think most important is ensuring where we're communicating, because there may be differing opinions, but if we arm everyone with is up-to-date information as we have it, that allows people to make an informed decision which is best for them. As we move towards the opening of school, I want to thank staff and all of our teachers and our families for working through this. I know it's not easy, and again, not just is it difficult at the staff level and in the classroom level, but even in every home, trying to figure out what is the right path for your family. And I think that as we open up, that accurate information is so important that we cannot add to the anxiety that is already on so many people's shoulders with any kind of alarmist information. So I appreciate the work you've done and staff, and if there is anything like that because there will be rumors, there will be things like that, and then there will be a negative trickle-down effect. So I appreciate you making that statement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion on the floor, please say aye.
What motion?
Uh,
Adjourn. We're done.
No, we,
Yes, meeting to adjourn.
I think you got through the last motion. You had asked the question about whether the board wanted to continue
Right.
its September 1st meeting at 6:30, or
Yeah.
if you wanted to move it to 3.
so,
I don't care.
I think for now, I like 3. I think 6:30 is beneficial for people who work. I know that we thankfully are able to stream them online, and they're on demand, but there is an opportunity for people to come for public comment. So my gut is that we keep a 3 and a 6:30 interchangeably, but.
I agree, 3 and 6:30.
Jane,
I'm fine with that.
okay.
So September, we start at 6:30? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
So our next meeting, our next regular school board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, September 1st at 6:30 PM. Anything else to come before the board? We're adjourned. That was all.
Hey.
Information to be mentioned is statewide, not Sarasota. So
Totally.
nothing to do with us. I mean,
Okay.
these little tiny counties up in the Panhandle are at 37.